Now, when you mentioned a moment ago that you did an initial offering, was that like a private placement that you did in Vermont?
No, actually, it was a public offering that was just within the state of Vermont, which had never been done before. Ben found this sort of obscure law that was on the books in Vermont that said you could sell stock in the company just to Vermonters. And as I said, it had never been done before. And when we talked to all our lawyers and accountants, whatever, they said it was a crazy thing to do, but it was what we wanted to do in order to grow. And so we had a very low minimum purchase of $126 to make it affordable for almost anyone. And we ended up raising money by selling part of the company to people in very, very small chunks, which is a hard thing to do.
Yes.
It's easier to try to get a bunch of money from a small number of people, which is what is typically done,
right.
Either going to venture capitalists or big investors. Because from a practical standpoint, most people don't want a lot of small investors. But we did want a lot of small investors.
Because you have to manage them. I mean, that ends up being. Do you recall how many investors you had and how much money you raised?
Well,
out of curiosity,
we raised $750,000. I remember that at the end of the offering, 1 out of every 100 families in Vermont had become owners in the company.
Is that right?
Yeah. Vermont's a fairly small state. There's 600,000 people in the whole state.
Sure.
So, which also made it more challenging to raise money. But we, it aligned with our values, which was more important to us than simply raising the money. We didn't want to grow the business unless we could grow it in a way that was consistent with our values. And
that was a foundation of your offering in the first instance, I'm assuming.
Yeah. That's what we wanted to do.
Wow. And again, just out of curiosity, but how if somebody had bought in your initial offering, how would they have done at the end of the day?
Oh, people made out very well. The company a year and a half after that had a national public offering, and then about maybe 7 years ago, the company got acquired by another company. So the company, Ben & Jerry's, is no longer independent.
Right.
Which was a very difficult thing for me and Ben to go through, but we weren't able to stop it from happening. But anyways, the people who invested initially, I think, made out very well. But what was interesting is that I think the huge majority of people who invested in the company initially didn't do it to make money. They knew it was a very risky venture, and we told everybody not to invest any money that you couldn't afford to lose. I think people invested because they wanted to support a local business that was trying to be very community-based.
You mentioned just a second ago that you were unable to stop the sale of the company, and I guess I'm assuming that's because over time, did you not control the majority? Is that
right? We were a public company,
yeah.
And essentially, when you're a public company, anybody can purchase shares, and we were trying to remain independent because, as I've mentioned, we have a different kind of mission at the company. We have a social mission that talks about integrating social and environmental concerns into the business of the company beyond simply just making money. And we were concerned that if another company acquired Ben & Jerry's, that they wouldn't be interested in that. So we tried to stay independent, but there started to be offers for the stock, and our board of directors was told by our lawyers that there primary responsibility was to the financial interests of the shareholders, and they had to get as much money as they could for the shareholders.
And so somebody came over and started to beat you over the head with money.
Yep.
Yeah. And in the time since then, has the company managed to maintain its focus?
Yeah, I think so. The company that owns Ben & Jerry's now is Unilever, which is a large consumer goods company that has a lot of different brands that are like Ragu spaghetti sauce, Lipton tea, Wishbone salad dressing. Those are all brands of Unilever. And so Ben & Jerry's runs, I guess what I would call semi-autonomously. Some of the functions are integrated into Unilever, such as the finance and sales and distribution. And then some things are run separately here in Vermont. Product development, marketing, the retail shops. And so in terms of marketing and deciding how to source ingredients or things like that, that's all done by Ben & Jerry's. So the company has maintained its focus on being a socially responsible and values-based company.
And are both you and Ben still associated with the company?
Ben and I are both associated with the company. We're employed by the company, and we have no responsibility and no authority.
But sometimes that's not bad.
It's an unusual role. We're not involved in the management or the operations, but we're here.
Well, I'm sure you're obviously goodwill ambassadors for the company. I'm sure everywhere you go.
I think they like having us around.